It's Monday, October 2nd, and time for your Barbados Today morning news update. Thanks for joining us. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. The Barbados Workers Union to hold talks with its committees of management later today as it signals intentions to escalate industrial action at the Caribbean Broadcasting Corporation. And BWU General Secretary Tony Moore says Labour Minister Dr. Esther Bayasuku has been notified of the union's plans. Moore says the union's council has also given the go-ahead for action to be extended across its membership, and it will in fact begin with workers facing a similar situation like those at the CBC.
In both instances, we have a case where agreement has been reached. In the case of Barbados Water Authority on the 24th of March last year, an agreement which has been reached. There's indication from them as well, from the management and the board of management of the authority, that there's an intention to depart from that agreement reached as it relates to the managers of the authority. Also, there's the unsettled issue of increments owed for 2015-2017 that has not been regularized, although the Barbados Workers Union has been for the past 9 months seeking to have this particular issue addressed. So it's safe to say that escalated action is likely to begin with the Barbados Water Authority, and then we'll expand through our remaining divisions, and the Minister of Labour has been written to this effect.
Can you say your other remaining divisions? That would be
All the remaining 208 divisions of the Barbados Workers Union.
About 50 workers at the state-run media house walked off the job last Wednesday, complaining about pay dating back to November 2012. Now, at the same time, Minister Bayasuku says she has been in contact with the disputing parties, and she's hoping the two sides will meet again for talks in order to resolve the impasse.
I do believe, from where I stand, that it is a genuine misunderstanding, but one nonetheless that has to be clarified. And I am working to try to get the two parties to, if I can't broker a solution at this point, certainly to see if I can get the two parties to start to think about coming back to the table so that we can settle this problem. As I said, we did have an agreement, but it turns out that in one regard there was a misunderstanding about the agreement.
But today, have you heard any updates from the president?
I have been in touch, as I said, I've been in touch with both sides. I've been in touch with the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union. I've been in touch with the management and the board at CBC so that I could try to, as I said, discuss with them, advise them, guide them, so that we can get back to the table to see us through this.
Dr. Bayasuku was speaking to the media during a Democratic Labour Party mass canvass in the St. George South constituency over the weekend. Now, the Labour Minister has also been speaking about the proposed sexual harassment bill, which she says will be before Parliament within 2 weeks' time. She says the legislation is needed given that sexual harassment affects many people in society, and she's given the assurance that it will be gender neutral.
The sexual harassment legislation is not about locking up people because a man seeks at a woman. All right? It's not about that. It is about ensuring that a person's rights are protected, that a person can function in dignity, and a person can say, well, look, this is what I want, and I am not comfortable with X, or I am not comfortable with Y. So it is not something that Barbadians need to be afraid of. I think we've started to chip away at that, because when I first took up this legislation, I was getting a lot of pushback. Now, not so much. Now I'm actually seeing men coming up to me and saying, when you're going to do that, because, you know, I have a sister, and I have a lady friend, and so on. So the guys are now, because more people are talking about it, even the guys are coming out and saying, this is affecting somebody I know, you need to bring that legislation. And we've seen the support too of the men's support groups. Again, at first they expressed concern. This is going back many years. They expressed concern about what this will do to men in society. But now the men's groups, and MESA and so on, they are coming out and saying, bring it. You know, because we've had their feedback, we've had their input in drafting it over the years, so we are comfortable that this is actually going to address the needs of the persons who are being harassed, but also not impose any undue hardship on anybody in the workplace. That's not what we want. Gender neutral. And it is gender neutral.
Meantime, Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite also revealed that legislation is also on the cards to deal with discrimination in the workplace.
The issue of persons with disabilities, and that's one area of the legislation in particular that we're going to address, because we want to ensure that all Barbadians and all residents of this island who are employed has an equal chance once they apply for jobs in this country, and certainly to ensure that the workplace is a place of equity, and that's why we're going to bring this legislation also.
Small and medium-sized businesses in Barbados are reeling under the recently imposed National Social Responsibility Levy. That's according to the president of the Small Business Association, Dean Straker, who says the NSRL, as well as that of the tax on foreign exchange transactions, are destabilizing businesses. He told those attending the SBA's annual awards ceremony over the weekend that operators are now faced with the challenge of whether to reduce staff or pass the cost to consumers.
The resultant impact on business has been demoralizing. With the latest taxes announced this year, the NSRL and the tax on foreign exchange transactions, destabilizing several firms, small and medium alike. The SBA maintains the view that you cannot tax your way out of a fiscal problem and posits that a new paradigm or new model is needed for our business development. As I speak tonight, our Secretariat has been receiving updates from members on the increased costs of their operations because of the NSRL and the FX tax. And the challenge now is either of passing this cost on to the consumer or reducing staff to keep their doors open.
Consumers are paying more for gasoline and kerosene, but less for diesel and liquefied petroleum gas. Gasoline now costs $3.38 per litre and kerosene $1.41 per litre, while diesel now retails at $2.37. A 100-pound cylinder of liquefied petroleum gas now costs $154.52. The 25-pound cylinder, $43.75, the 22-pound cylinder, $38.65, and the 20-pound cylinder, $35.13.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Good morning, Phillips & Company, may I help? Oh, certainly. One moment, please. Miss Phillips?
Yeah?
There's a lady on the line from the Nation newspaper who would like to speak with you.
The Nation? Wish she go on?
Well, they're trying to sell us some ads.
Look, don't make me laugh this morning. Ads in the Nation? They're real expensive, and for what here, nobody ain't buying them papers no more. Nobody ain't want to steal news. I hear reading Barbados Today online for free. So I tell she thanks for calling, but no thanks. We just advertising Barbados Today, families. Tell she is Barbados Today all the way.
Okay, I'll pass on the message. Ma'am, are you still there? Oh, she put down.
The Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from the region now, the Public Service Association puts the government on notice as Finance Minister Carl Imbert prepares to deliver the 2017-2018 budget in Parliament today. PSA President Watson Duke says the union will not accept any new taxes or measures that will affect his members.
Watson Duke says the government is hinting at another budget presentation rife with taxes and cutbacks, but he says the PSA will have none of that.
Our bills have already been tightened to the point where our salaries have depreciated in value by some 15%.
And if there is, the PSA president says his union will not be taking it lightly.
Come Monday, when that budget is read, be prepared for the aftershocks.
Now, that's not a new threat coming from a Labour leader who has had several protests over the years. But with PSA elections coming soon, Mr. Duke says these protests will be different.
I am now transformed from being presidential to being a political animal. Now the gloves are off and we are saying be prepared for war. For the next 2 months, there'll be constant war.
And that report from CNC3. And finally, former American football star and actor O.J. Simpson has been released on parole after 9 years in a Nevada jail. He had been serving time for armed robbery, assault with a deadly weapon, and 10 other charges over a 2007 confrontation at a Las Vegas hotel. Simpson's early parole release was approved at a board hearing back in July. More in this report from the CNN.
Well, it was done in secret and, according to prison officials, without incident. They call it clean. They said they had extreme concerns about letting him out, about paparazzi trying to chase his vehicle, perhaps, and they said that he was picked up by a friend. They said prior to that, his paperwork, his release paperwork, was processed, and he went over some of the conditions before with a parole officer. They say that he was upbeat and that he was happy, seeming thrilled to get out of prison after the 9 years. They also said they went over an inventory with him, and he took very basic stuff that all inmates have, shower sandals, a hot plate, some clothes, that sort of thing, and he put 3 or 4 of these boxes the size of about a microwave in a car. They also took inventory of some things he didn't want to take, prison officials saying they didn't want those things to suddenly be found out in the prison yard. But they said it was very calm and very smooth. And they said the reason they had done it this way, because they had indicated they were going to transfer him and there was going to be a long journey and more, but they said the reason they let him out only 8 minutes after he was eligible for parole, by the way, is because they just wanted to ensure the public safety and the safety of any of the officers.
And that's news, but for the very latest, visit our website, www.barbadostoday.bb. Also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. We're also on iZooming Media and bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you, as well as Mix 96.9 FM. I'm Frenella Wedderburn. Good morning.